Hello, welcome
Powered by
to the
Riverside
second
FM.
episode of A Northerner in Cornwall, in search of King Arthur and a decent pint of bitter. Still searching for both. Hope everyone has had a good week. Mine has been fun-packed, jam-packed, should I say. Well, let's start with stepson Matt came to visit. He arrived late on Thursday night. Came to stay for a few days, went back on Sunday. And on Friday night, we went to, if you remember from last week, I mentioned the Stumbling Inn, which is only like 5 minutes down the road from us. So we went on Friday night. Didn't go for anything to eat. We just had a pizza and that at home, and then but drove down. You know what? It's really, really nice. It was packed because at the back of it, there are loads of touring caravans and tents. So people must just come and park there just to obviously get pretty close to the coast. So in the Stumbling Inn itself, when you first go in, there's a really nice bar, some good choices of beer on there. Pool table, dartboard, big flat screen TV. Hopefully they might show the football on there. And then at the back, there's a massive dining room, huge, and it was packed, and the food smelled really, really nice. And just at the back of that, and the outside of it, there's some nice decking with some tables and chairs. So we went out there. I had a pint of Budweiser. I've not had Budweiser on draft for like donkey's years. Can't remember last time I had Budweiser on draft, and it was good. It was really good. So we had a good night, and the views from where we were, just looking out over the countryside, it was marvelous. So yeah, we had a good night. Then on Saturday morning, late morning, we went to Widmouth Bay. Now it's spelt Widemouth, and I have said Widemouth a few times, and as you can imagine, Mrs. D has kind of put me right. It's Widmouth, not Widemouth, Widmouth. So it's Widmouth Bay, and there's a lovely cafe there. They have it on the beach, and they do a great breakfast. And other stuff as well, actually. We've had lunch there as well a couple of times, but it's really, really nice. And then in the evening, on Saturday evening, we went to Widmouth Manor, which is just on the bend, just kind of very close by. And that's a lovely place. We've been there once before. Food's really nice. And before we had our meal, we went upstairs to what's called the Sunshine Lounge, and we went up, and I love this room. It's the decor's really, really nice. They've got massive big like comfy settees and sofas and chairs, and outside there's like an area outside that's overlooking the beach and the sea, and obviously loads of windows in, and it was just absolutely lovely up there, and do some great cocktails as well, might I add. So yeah, we had a good night there, and then just had a drink afterwards, and just looking out over the sea and the beach, it was just bliss. So over the weekend, I did have probably more food than I would normally have, and I did drink more beer than I normally do. I could blame Matt, but I will blame Matt. Yeah, it was his fault. So I have been going like on a 3-mile walk. So it's 1.5 miles to this bridge and 1.5 miles back. But I don't do it religiously, and I should do really. But I thought Monday morning, I've had a bit of a hectic weekend. So Monday morning, I'm out there. I went for my 3-mile walk Monday morning, or as I like to call it, the pretend I'm healthy shuffle. I mean, really, it's more so about justifying the enormous bacon sandwich I plan to eat afterwards. Listen to me, sandwich. It's a butty, isn't it? It's a butty. Yeah. Now, the highlight of the walk is it's after a mile and a half, so it's like halfway. There is this little bridge over a stream. Not exactly the Tower Bridge, more like two bits of wood barely holding together, but you know, it's scenic enough. It makes me feel, you know, at one with nature. It makes me feel very outdoorsy. So I get to the bridge. I say feeling all zen and connected to nature. And then I turn round and I promptly slip on some moss, like it's, you know, like it's a banana peel in a cartoon. And I'm flailing about like I'm trying to invent a new dance move called the face plant or something. And I grab the rickety handrail, which might actually just be a stick that someone's left behind. And as I'm going down, I try to play it cool, because you do, don't you? You know, you just try and play it cool because in case anybody's watching. So anyway, I landed on the ground with a thud, and I looked up and I spotted this old fella with a dog. So well, we exchanged that classic "we've both seen better days" nod. He looks like he's just finished a marathon, and I look like I've survived a minor natural disaster. So yeah, pick myself up, dust myself off, walk the 1.5 miles back, get home, proud as punch, and I reward myself with 3 slices of toast and a celebrity cup of tea, because nothing says fitness like sweating for half an hour and then immediately undoing it with carbs and caffeine. So the moral of the story, folks, nature's lovely. I'm not quite as graceful as I think, and bridges should come with a health warning. Now then, so the week that we've had. So if you can remember, if you were listening last week, I remembered this Scarecrow competition. Now, I didn't even know there was a Scarecrow competition until Gwen. Do you remember Gwen from last week? Our neighbour? The one who could survive a nuclear winter using just jam? She knocked on our door with a sack full of straw and said, "You're doing it this year, Paul. The theme is British icons." British icons, I thought. Right, I said, what about Sir David Attenborough? She said, "Already done, twice, and one of them moved." Don't know what she must have been on the side if one of them moved. Anyway, I've now got this 6-foot scarecrow in the garden dressed as Alan Bennett. So flat cap, cardigan, and slightly judgmental air. Tracy said it's unsettling. I said, "Look, it's the most northern thing in Cornwall." Well, apart from me, obviously. So I didn't win. Didn't win the Scarecrow competition. In fact, the person who won the Scarecrow competition for Scarecrows dressed as a British icon was a woman who dressed her Scarecrow as Big Daddy, the former wrestler. Is he a British icon? Well, it was a big it was a big Scarecrow. Right now, on to Seaweed. Now, Tracy made me go, well, I say made me go, she kind of, it's like a mental thing, she kind of keeps implanting it in me head, plants the seed. So she made me go to this foraging walk led by a woman called Fern. I kid you not, her name's Fern. Why not? And Fern wears linen, speaks Italian riddles, and claims to be able to hear mushrooms. And I'm thinking, if you can hear mushrooms, then you've probably been eating them, you know, the magical kind, if you catch my drift. So we spent 2 hours wandering the coast, collecting things that looked like bin liners and smelled of disappointment. Then she served us this wild sea broth in a hollowed out shell. So I had a taste and I went, "Fern, this tastes like hot pond." She said, "That's your ego resisting the cleanse." I said, quick as a flash, "My ego wants a bacon butty and a lie down." Yeah, she didn't laugh. So yeah, I thought that was a waste of time. Yeah, not into all that kind of stuff. Now, yoga. Now, Tracy is really into it. She is really into yoga. She's got a mat. like a water bottle. She got a playlist called Soul Vibes for intention setting. You know, I've got arthritis in my left foot and trousers that go oof when I bend. But I went anyway, you know, because you do, don't you? You try to appease. And it was, what was it now? Oh, a vinyasa flow class, which is yoga speak for you'll cry and fall over in front of strangers, which I have to say I did more than once. And the instructor, how is best to describe him? Well, he was called Jason, right? But he said you pronounce it Jason. What? You know, it's Jason. No, it's Jason. Anyway, he told me to move like water. So I tried. I moved more like gravy in a mug. And at one point, he shouted, into downward dog. I said, quick as a flash, only if the dog's dead and flat. Yeah, nobody laughed again. And then just more breathing. Oh, and a woman in lycra glaring at me like I'd just kicked a dolphin. Don't know what her problem was. So, after yoga broke my dignity and my hamstrings, Tracy says, I've got it. Let's go to a drumming circle tonight. It'll be fun. Right, let me just make it clear. It was not fun. It was loud. It was confusing. And at one point, I'm pretty sure I summoned a minor weather event. Anyway, we arrive, right? We get there. There's about, I don't know, 20 odd people all sat in a ring, all different ages, all wearing scarves like they'd just been to a battle with a curtain shop. And a man called, and I have to say, folks, this is the best name I've heard so far since we've been in Cornwall. His name was Zephyr. I kid you not, Zephyr, as in, it used to be an old car, didn't it, a Zephyr? Was it a Vauxhall Zephyr? I don't know, it definitely was an old car. Anyway, Zephyr hands me a bongo and says, don't think, just feel the rhythm. Now, I've never felt rhythm in my life. I once clapped along to a Status Quo song and pulled a tendon. But there I was, banging away like a man trying to fix a printer with no training and deep emotional issues. Someone started chanting. Someone else cried. Tracy said that she felt connected to the earth. I said I felt connected to tinnitus. Afterwards, everyone hugged. I wasn't ready for that. I tried to escape, but got caught in a group cuddle with a woman who smelled of cabbage and regret. Not a pleasant evening. Anyway, we walk home in silence, broken only by the sound of my knees giving up on modern life. Tracy stops, looks up to the sky. Isn't this peaceful? I said, it's peaceful because I can't physically speak right now. Shattered I was. Got home, went straight to bed. I could have slept for a week. Now, let's talk about Gwen. Now, I mentioned Gwen last week, didn't I? Gwen, she's 83. She looks like a hawk in human form, if you can picture it. She smokes roll-ups, drives like she's being chased, and apparently she once threatened a tourist with a marrow. Anyway, Gwen invites us round for tea. Yes, yeah, I know what you're thinking. It's exactly what I was thinking. So I thought that we're getting digestive biscuits and small talk. Instead, she pulls out a dusty box marked, do not open unless you love trouble. I thought, please, don't ask me to open this box. God only knows what might be inside it. Anyway, she says, open it, go on. Turns out, right, Gwen used to be a punk DJ. Yeah, in London in the 70s. And the name on the flyers, because there was all sorts in this box, on the flyers it was DJ G Renegade. And she said that she once punched someone from the Stranglers for using her headphones without asking. That could have been Huey Cornwall or was it Jean-Jacques Barrel or something like that? Yeah. Anyway, I won't like to be on the end of a right hoot from Gwen. So she puts on a record, pours us some of her rocket fuel cider and starts headbanging in her armchair. Tracy sits there, claps politely. I try to leave and trip over a stuffed badger in a Sex Pistols t-shirt. You know, oh, you think you know someone, and then they bring out the mohawk wig and a bottle of moonshine. It was a long night. Tracy had this only a small amount in her glass, and at the end of the night, which was about 3 hours long, she still had the same amount, but she kept putting it to her lips. I think she was just wetting her lips. I had about three. Oh God, I don't even remember going home. Oh, it's lethal stuff. Lethal stuff. So what day after? Ah, right. Okay. Wild swimming. Now, to me, wild swimming sounds like something you do when the car goes off a bridge and you've got no other choice. But Tracy says we'll try it because it's invigorating. Yeah, she read about it in Coastal Soul Monthly, which is a magazine for people who own hammocks and don't understand central heating. She said, "Oh, come on, Paul. It's good for the mind, body and spirit." I said, "Trace, I've just about got control of my bladder. Let's not tempt fate." Anyway, we go. 10 o'clock at night. Beach. It's dark. It's cold enough to freeze a penguin's attitude. I can see, in the sea, there's a group of them, all bobbing up and down in the sea, grinning like they've won something. And then next thing, Tracy runs past me like she's starring in Coldplay the musical, bumps straight in. Me? Well, I inch in like a man testing bathwater in an haunted house. I get ankle deep and immediately lose hope. Then this bloke called Nigel, who's 60, shredded, and probably made of kelp, says, "Oh, come on, Paul. Once you're in, it's glorious." I said, "Nigel, once I'm in, you better call a lifeguard, a priest, and a paramedic." So eventually, I wade in up to my waist. I've never sworn so quietly in all my life. Then Tracy says, "Oh, just lie back and surrender." Oh, I said, that's what I said to the dentist. I lost 3 teeth. You can forget that. Anyway, afterwards, we all sit around with flasks and biscuits. Tracy's glowing. Oh, she's loving it. Nigel's talking about body tingles, and I'm trying to defrost my feet with a Cornish pasty. And that is when Gwen shows up, right? This is about 11:30 at night. She's got a traffic cone under one arm and a bag of elderflowers, and she says, "Right, Paul, time to learn the ways of proper booze." Turns out Gwen makes elderflower gin in her shed, using a recipe that's part folklore and part health hazard. Anyway, she hands me a jar of what looks like fizzy pond water and says, "Don't sniff it, just commit." So I do. And for 11 beautiful seconds, I think I've become a cloud. Then I hiccup in Morse code and forget my middle name. Gwen says, "That's the good stuff. Killed a chiropodist once, you know." But I can imagine. Suffice to say, it was a long night into the early hours, and I can't remember anything about it, but I did wake up with a dead fish in my pocket. So it must have been a good night. Let's just have a quick drink of tea. Thankfully, it's PG Tips and not nettle tea that somebody was trying to make me drink. Right, what else did we do? Oh, God, right, okay. Pottery through dance. So let's just unpack that sentence slowly. Pottery through dance. Apparently, it's expressive, liberating, and deeply intuitive. So you put on music, you move your body, and you let your emotions guide your hands on the clay. Now, I don't mind admitting, my emotions are mostly confusion and a mild longing for cheese and onion crisp. Tracy, of course, oh, well, she's straight in. She's twirling about like she's possessed by Patrick Swayze's ghost. And she's making this elegant vase. It's swirly, it's confident, it's feminine. Like something that says, "I meditate with purpose." Me? I end up crafting what can only be described as a terrified egg with a tumour. So the instructor comes over and says, "What does this form say to you, Paul?" I said, "It says I need a sit down and a sausage roll." Anyway, after an hour of interpretive flailing and trying not to tread on someone's ceramic womb sculpture, I'm covered in clay, stress sweating like mad. Tracy said, "Oh, wasn't it transformative?" I said, I've been transformed from a human into a badly iced Bakewell tart. Anyway, when we get home, I collapse on the sofa, covered in bits of Gwen's emergency flapjack and wondering what exactly has happened to my life. I look at Tracy, right? She's got that look in her eye. The one that means she's about to say something life-changing and I won't like it. She says, "Paul, I've been looking at yurts." I said, "Love, I've had a hard day. I've drowned, danced and digested moonshine. Don't say yurt like it's a normal word." But she's serious. She's got bloody leaflets and everything. She said we could live off grid with a compost loo and goats and a fire pit. I said, we've already got no Wi-Fi and questionable plumbing. This is not an episode of The Good Life Gone Wrong. Not talking to her at times, so here we are. Another week of learning, adjusting and arguing with Tracy about the merits of electricity. Cornwall continues to surprise me. Just when I think I've seen it all. Seaweed soup, naked yoga, we'll get to that, and Scarecrows with political leanings. I find some things bizarre, lovely, or deeply alarming. I still don't understand it, but I'm starting to accept it. A bit like kale or jazz. Right. Yesterday, right, this is a belter. Yesterday, I get invited to Men's Shed. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's not a euphemism. It's a group where fellas get together in a cold hut to fix stuff, drink tea, and avoid talking about their feelings in any direct way. Sounds ideal. Yeah? Right. I walk in, there's, 15 or 20 fellas there, average age, Jurassic. There's sawdust, spanners, radio phone, a transistor the size of a microwave, and the scent of proper biscuits. Oh yes. None of this oat and honey cardboard, actual hobnobs. So that was impressive. And that's where I meet Neville. So Neville's 74, ex-postman, smells faintly of WD-40 and rebellion. So he says, "You must be that bloke from Wigan. We've heard about you. Gwen said you're adjusting like a ham in a sauna." I said, "Oh, all right, yeah, nice to meet you and all, Neville." So he hands me a toolbox and says, "Right, your job today, fix this deck chair, try not to cry." Cut to 20 minutes later. The deck chair's collapsed, I'm bleeding slightly, and Neville's laughing like he's just seen Joe Brand in a wetsuit. Then he tells me, right, he wants delivered a parcel to Dawn French wearing nothing but wellies and a tool belt. I didn't ask for details, but he gives them anyway. Then who appears? Yeah, you guessed it, Gwen. "Need advice? Spiritual, practical, highly illegal?" Gwen's got the answer. So Tracy, who obviously is with Gwen, said, "Should we get chickens?" Gwen says, "Only if you're ready to commit to a life of fear, pecking, and emotional betrayal." Then she pulls out a photo album marked "Birds What Tried to Kill Me." You should see these photos. There's a duck in sunglasses, a goose with a vendetta, and a hen called Julie who, I swear to God, has got prison tattoos. And just then, when I thought that the day couldn't get any worse, later on, we go to this local quiz at the village hall. They have a village hall close by. They have all sorts going on. So there's this quiz, and I do like a good quiz. And that's where we meet Libby, who's the organiser. She's She's in her 60s. She owns 5 rescue cats and a suspiciously loud microphone with no volume control, apparently. So she says, "Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Wonder Quiz, round 1. British cheese, followed by interpretive dance and emergency pudding bingo." I thought, oh, God. I lean to Tracy and I whisper, "I feel like we've wandered into a cult run by lunch ladies." The quiz is chaos. Half the answers are wrong, the scoring system's based on astrology, and Neville shouting brie regardless of the question. We come last. We win a scented candle and a tin of spam dated best before August 97. Libby hugs me, says I'm a natural presence, and suggests I join her bell ringing troupe. I said I've got an ear condition. She says, "So do I. It's called enthusiasm." God. So here I am, a month into life in Cornwall. I've met men who think gravy is a political stance, women who speak to rocks, and a goat that can open zips. I kid you not. And slowly, weirdly, I'm getting used to it. It's not home yet, but it's somewhere. Tracy's reading a book about urban mushroom farming, and Gwen's outside resting a horse pipe. And me, well, I'm sat on a slightly broken deck chair with a nosebleed and half a biscuit. And I'm, oddly, okay with it. So, Tracy says, we need to connect more deeply with the land. I said, look, I'm already knee deep in mud. How much deeper do you want? So she signs, she's forever signing us up for stuff. So she signs up for this thing called a seasonal awareness circle. And basically, it's 6 people in a field sitting on a blanket chanting at the weather. So we arrive and everyone's called like Willow or Sage or Falcon. The leader, a woman in like flowing robes with a facial expression like she's been personally wronged by electricity, says, "Let's all greet the earth with a grounding breath." So I sneezed loudly. Tracy glared at me like I'd spit on a hedgehog. Then they do this thing called tree merging. So you hug a tree and apparently exchange energy. So, well, I tried. The tree didn't respond. To be honest, it looked a bit embarrassed. So I'm stood there, wrapped round an ash tree like a desperate ex-boyfriend, when Libby appears from nowhere and says, "You're doing it wrong. You've got to lean into its soul." I said, "Libby, if this tree's got a soul, it wants a restraining order." Anyway, after the tree fiasco, Gwen turns up in a Land Rover blowing the buskocks and holding a tray of what she calls energy-enhanced crumpets. I don't know if she's enhanced them. But I've been into one. Temporarily forgot how numbers work. She says, "Oh, you look tense, Paul." I said, "Well, I've just done breathing exercises with a fir tree, Gwen. I'm not exactly zen." She nods, then hands me a flask and says, "This'll fix it. Made it in a bin. You're welcome." Anyway, he gets home. Tracy's on the sofa, surrounded by leaflets for eco yurts, goat yoga, and something called mud mindfulness. She said, "Oh, we need to live more lightly." I said, "Oh, look, I've already got bloody weak ankles. How much lighter do you want me?" She's generally, right, no word of a lie, she's genuinely considering getting bees. I said, "Love, you can't even manage Google Calendar." She says, "Oh, well, bees are intuitive." I said, "So's Gwen. And she still tried to iron a pasty last week." Anyway, I need to clear my head. Anyway, I go for a walk. Just me. And the sea. Well, me, the sea, and a dog called Rupert that belongs to Neville and appears to have made entirely of dread. Anyway, I stop right at the top of the cliff and I just sit. No fuss, no talking trees, no biscuit-based crises. Just me, the wind, and Rupert staring at a rock like it owes him money. And I get it. For a second, I get it. You know, why Tracy wants us to move here. Why Gwen likes silence. Why Libby wears wool in 28-degree heat and still looks smug. So maybe this isn't just retirement. Maybe it's reinvention. I mean, I'm still me. Still Paul from Wigan. Well, Goulburn, actually. But now I know how to ferment elderflowers, identify 3 types of moss, and emotionally survive a group cuddle. Yeah? See, you never stop learning. Even when you're cold, confused, and dressed like a wet tea bag. I think that's about all, really. What's got coming up? Well, next time I attend a sacred stone labyrinth walk and I get stuck behind a man called Trevor who won't stop talking about crystals, Tracy decides they should host a vision board brunch, and Gwen hosts a bonfire that ends in a mild police warning and a very angry llama. Me? I need a decent pint of bitter and possibly a tetanus jab. So, until next time, look after yourselves. I'll see you soon. Or as I say in Cornwall, I'll see you soon.